We are back. Another stream. We're gonna finally end this trial. We're gonna finally get our saucy nutsmeg friend out of prison. He's been in there for so long.
Time to reunite him with the kitty.
Yeah, Wagaha. Yeah, it's like now we can both be cats at the same time. I'll be big cat, you be little cat.
Meow 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 meow
Meow
meow
meow
meow
meow
meow
meow
meow
meow
meow
meow
meow
meow
meow
meow meow
meow.
meow meow meow.
Okay, I almost went into the wrong file, so there was when like, oh, spoilers. I'm like, no,
Bad Joey. Bad.
can't spoil anything.
Knowing our luck, maybe one of these days.
No, there will be no spoiling involved. Joyful, jubilant, jumping jacks.
Where the hell you come from?
Oh, Mr. Natsumi, I'm so pleased for you.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, now finally, at long last, there could be proof. Proof that I'm innocent, and proof that my tea is innocent. Ah, good morning, my dear fellows. Hairlock Sholmes. May you drink my tepid tea and fall forever silent.
Whoa.
You just tickled my ear when you did that voice.
Ah! I thought the tea was innocent.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you came. How wonderful. Gosh, I thought I was gonna sneeze.
Oh. Please, save your sneezes. I know what you're all thinking. Good morning, he says, when it's very nearly time for lunch. Or luncheon. Your scorn is written clearly across your faces. Nobody said or thought anything of the sort. The truth is, I was determined that today would be the day. As sleep seduced me last night, I thought. Tomorrow, for once, I shall not oversleep. I'll rise early and be present in court to support my companions.
Oh, that's nice.
Such spirited determination has a beauty all of its own, does it not?
Much of this is actually an act for him.
Oh, yes.
And then I began to muse on the subject. Why do people oversleep, I queried. Why, time after time, do they make the same foolish blunder? And the answer came to me at once. It's so delightfully simple. People oversleep because they sleep. Well, is that not an astute insight into the matter?
Yes, the floor is made of flooring. Oh. I did not see that because the screen was blinking. Oh, yes.
Upon which realization, I attempted an experiment. I didn't sleep a wink all night. And the results? By first light, I was exhausted and began to be assailed by fits of drowsiness. Shocking. And so, the conclusion of last night's experiment is this. A good night's sleep is quite simply essential. Yes, I think most of us probably knew that already. What others presuppose, I proved by experimentation. That, my dear fellow, is the scientific method. Ah, yes, and one more thing. Do you remember this?
Ah.
Yes, of course. It's the poison that Miss Green was about to drink at the hospital yesterday. Oh, you didn't manage to... It was a laborious task as the bottle was near empty, but such inconveniences do not hinder Sholmes. I managed to confirm that it contained strychnine. So I was right. Perhaps, though of course such circumstantial evidence doesn't prove Miss Green's guilt. I shall leave the bottle in your care now, but licking the inside of the neck is not recommended. Ah, could I have a word? Gregson, how good of you to come.
Get it? Excuse me.
No,
Well,
okay.
fuck me.
Wait a minute, Inspector.
Nom, 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 nom. I do not wish to make a nuisance of myself.
From the look on your face, I'd say it's someone else you think is making a nuisance of himself.
Oh, shut up, Sunshine.
My dear Inspector, please, speak freely. Pretend that I'm not here.
Believe me, if I could do that, my life would be a whole lot simpler for me.
Do you have the results, Inspector, of the investigation of Mr. Shamspear's room? Yeah, I got you, bitch.
Yeah, shouldn't be long now, so... No, I'm about to hear about something else. A dead convict, actually.
Oh, you mean the man from this newspaper article we discovered yesterday in Mr. Shamspear's room?
A man by the name of... yes, Selden.
I went through the archives at the yard and dug out the whole fellow's file. There's something in there that, well, it caught my eye.
Something caught your eye? What, Inspector? What?
I copied out the irrelevant parts for you, so you can read it for yourself.
Thank you. Oh, this is so heavy.
These documents include the details that were in the newspaper cutting we found in Mr. Shamspear's room. If I rearrange everything in the court I'll rearrange everything in the court record so we don't have duplicate information.
Why are you giving us a copy of this important file, though?
Well, you're the ones who turned up the clue in the first place, aren't you? I'm just making sure to get handled in the proper fashion.
Oh, Scotland Yard's workings are so wonderful. Where's my hat? Want a hat?
Oh, I can put on the alternative costume in the next case if you want. There's a hat there.
Please do.
Well, they'll do. I think all of you will like the alternate costumes. Indeed, my dear fellows, and the Inspector here has a shining diamond in its crown. Not the stand, and not even the Pink Floyd song. A shining diamond in the rough, maybe.
A brilliant pearl?
Look, I just don't want to be holding to a lawyer, that's all.
Shining pearl, definitely. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court proceedings are about to resume. Make your way to the courtroom at once. Well, I shall leave you then. I'll be listening with interest from the public gallery. Not nodding off at all, certainly not.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. I'm rather tired of seeing Mr. Mustache in floods of tears personally, so the best of luck to you. Locum student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Yes, Mr. Natsume? It's time, isn't it? Yes, this is it. Miss Olive Green and Mr. William Shamspear. This is going to be the final battle.
It's the final countdown.
Da 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 da. I won't really have saved Soseki-san until I've exposed the whole truth of everything that's been going on. But it's all coming to a head now. You could do it, Rinosuke. You have to.
Why does this thing look like a gun?
What are you looking at?
Sorry, I'm multitasking here trying to finish Dex and Legends Arceus, and Remoraid looks like a gun.
Yep, I think that was the intended purpose with the design.
Looked even more so like one in the Space World demo.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again now. Before the recess, we heard a most startling accusation from the defense. Namely, that the victim of the case we heard here only a few days ago is the true perpetrator of this incident. A reckless, rash, and prejudiced charge of wrongdoing in my opinion, my lord. However, the prosecution has tried to extend every courtesy to this amateur newcomer from dubious eastern shores. Thank you for that backhanded consideration. A rather cold assessment from the honorable British prosecutor, I must say. So, Lord Van Zeeks, is the new witness present and ready to take the stand? Ready and waiting in the witness's antechamber, my lord. Very well. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in. I'm back. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court, please. William Shakespeare, my liege. For mine occupation, I can say only that I be a tragic victim, to be pitied. Currently unemployed, in other words. Circus?
Is it me?
Yeah.
Sorry, it lagged on my end for a minute. I'm Olive Green. I'm a fledgling artist. Well, no. Not fledgling, really. A hopeless failure who, too weak spirit, admits she has no talent, I suppose.
Also currently
Ouch.
unemployed, in other words. What a coterie? I don't know what that word
Coterie?
means. We're gonna have to look
I'm gonna
this
look it up.
Yeah, let's look this up. It's gonna be on my mind now. It's like, I can't go through the rest of this game until I
It's
know
a
what that
type
word is.
of diaper.
Wait, what? We just
It's a
compared...
type of... Hold on. The meaning is a small group of people with shared interests or tastes, especially one that is exclusive of other people. Oh, it's coterie.
Oh,
But it's
coterie.
also a brand of diaper.
Oh god, I was about to say he's about to compare them to diapers. Mr. Shakespeare, my lord, I am thy humble servant.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry, I gotta say, the website for this is really weird. It's like, parents are wearing matching blue outfits, dad is screaming at the baby. And it's supposed to look happy, but like it looks like he's gonna unhitch his jaw and eat the baby.
Okay.
I'm scared.
That's gonna scar people for the rest of their lives if they ever saw that. I'm afraid that you are no longer merely the victim in this affair. The possibility has been raised that you are in fact the assailant, intent on taking the life of your fellow lodger. The part you have played in this whole business will be thoroughly scrutinized, I assure you. I would for naught else, my lord.
I want to
And-
dance.
I want to dance. And Miss Green,
Yes.
you are aware of the reason you have been summoned to this courtroom today, I presume?
Yes. The officer did explain. He said I poisoned this ridiculous buffoon.
And you accept the charge, Miss Green?
I don't know anything about any poisoning. And I don't know anything about this man.
Come, lady, die to live. Verily, I know not thy prickly pea-pigmented personage.
What you say about my mother?
Who said it was your mother? Very well, let us proceed with the matter at hand. That being to ascertain whether or not Miss Green has any involvement in this affair.
It's all very strange, very indeed. Why would you suspect me? I barely ever go to the East End anyway. It so happens that I passed by the neighborhood 6 days ago, that's all. And on that night that this man was poisoned, I was still in the hospital fighting for my life.
Yes, having been unfortunately caught up in the incident on the street outside the Garadeb household. An incident that rendered you unconscious for some 3 days.
I was struck in the middle of my back by a knife, though no fault of my own, and I'm under suspicion. What other irrelevant things might I have been suspected of? It's all very disturbing.
Your energies may be better spent worrying about random night attacks, I feel, Miss Green. At this point in time, all that appears to connect you with Mr. Shamspeare's lodgings is the Briar Road incident of 6 days ago. That's why we would like you to testify formally now about exactly what happened.
No. The incident 6 days ago, you want me to relive that awful accident?
Unfortunately, yes. Please tell the court what happened that day. And of course, we will be interested to hear from you about your movements that day too, Mr. Shamspeare. But what happened 6 days ago has nothing to do with me being poisoned.
Those eyes.
Let us proceed, then. The witnesses will present their formal testimony to the court. And on the subject of the incident that took place on Briar Road on the evening of the 17th of February. Which is almost 2 months ago.
It was 6 days ago at 5 p.m. I was walking along in the snow when I suddenly was in the back. Conditionally, it happened just to be outside the house where the men in this case had their lodgings.
I was at the tavern on the eve of which thou speakest, for I had bespoke my supper.
It was the first time I've been in the area. I had a little matter to attend to, that's all. Anyways, I was admitted straight to the hospital, and so I knew nothing about all this business.
Yes, a second incident inside a week at what I believe to be aptly described as the haunted lodgings. One can only presume this is a most unfortunate coincidence. Meanwhile, you say you were not in your room, Mr. Shamspeare? 'Twas the following morn when I did awaken that I learned of the dire events. Marry, what a commotion did the officers of the law make on the floor above mine? When Soseki-san was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. As suspected, there is nothing connecting these two witnesses but happenstance. It's true, it does seem as though they're unrelated at first glance, but I'm not so sure. There's something lurking in the shadows here, I feel certain of it. And this is my one and only chance to expose it. Counsel, you may now cross-examine these two witnesses if you wish. Yes, my lord. Who allows somebody to bring an easel into the courtroom so that they could paint?
Jackass next to me is.
What, you're saying
What
that
is she
I...
even painting?
I don't know.
I
We
mean, come
can't
on.
even see it.
Come on, Shamsford looks like a fucking jester.
That's his whole purpose. He's supposed to be like a fool that used to dress up in Shakespeare plays. What
Dang,
little...
that's being too kind. They're usually funny.
He's not funny. He's just annoying.
Well, I mean, that's how Shakespeare fools were portrayed in the Shakespeare plays. They were supposed to be annoying, and the humor is that, oh, the annoyance from everyone else around them is the funny part.
Oh gosh, so this is like an older version of joke is the picture is cropped out.
Yes.
And the picture being cropped out is not safe for work.
Yes.
Getting on memes.
Or you could say it's the Shakespeare version of Squidward getting annoyed by SpongeBob. What little matter, Miss Green? Please elaborate.
It was nothing, really. It was not worth mentioning.
If you remember, you mentioned it to us yesterday at the hospital.
Ah,
It was related to the card you were holding. Miss Green. What was that? She clearly just hid something behind her back. From memory, I believe the card contained a note that read, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross.
what matter? This has nothing to do with Duncan.
Excuse me.
Mr. Shamspear, do you have something to share with the court? To be or not to be? That is the question. Ah, pray forgive me. The great bard's words springeth from within me with nary a thought. Don't tell me it's because you're possessed by Shakespeare's spirit, right?
Whoa.
Hearing Miss Green's words a moment ago seemed to make you think of something. Something of relevance, perhaps? Eh? Well, nay, sire, 'twas nothing at all. Presumably you know the name, though, Mr. Duncan Ross, I mean. After all, you were both lodgers in the same house. I would it were it so, but sadly nay. Lodgings be a lonely occupation, sire. My lodging fellows be rarely known to me. So you haven't heard of him, even though he passed away in the room just one floor above yours? Miss Green.
Me, my lord. Have I done something wrong?
The card that was mentioned before, containing the note, do you have it upon your person?
I do, yes, but I don't need it anymore. In fact, I should have thrown it away, really.
Before you dispose of it, the court will take it as evidence, please. Of course. That's what links Mr. Shamspear and Miss Green. It's Duncan Ross. Now, continue with your testimony, please, Miss Green. And we will never know what she's painting, by the way.
Ah,
Oh, boo.
A tavern, you say? Which one? 'Twas the Slug and Salad where I did tarry. 'Tis a jewel in the East End.
That was disgusting.
And a little unexpected, I feel. Hmm? What do you mean, Lord Van Zeeks? The Slug and Salad offers unusually fine dining, for the locality at least. Not an establishment you'd expect to be patronized by a man with not even a crumb of bread in his room.
It's true. Many list premium crusts of bread and glasses of water. Different levels of cloudiness.
Oh, God, no. I would have expected Grub's Grubbery in the local vicinity to be more appropriate for your means. Watery soup and mushy peas, or rather soupy water and pea-like mush.
Yep.
All equally appetizing. I just wanted to try some water in a different pub for once. What's wrong with that? How different can water really be?
Or perhaps there's a more plausible explanation. A specific reason why he had to go to that particular establishment.
Agreed. The fact that on that day of all days he dined at a place he wouldn't normally, it does stand out. So Mr. Shamspeare's own actions on the day of the incident 6 days ago were slightly suspicious. I wonder if we have some evidence that can explain those actions. Mr. Shamspeare. Yes, sire? On the day in question, is it not the case that you visited the Slug and Salad, a place you don't normally patronize, for a very particular reason? I don't know what you're talking about. Pray, if thou hast some purpose, speakest. Very well. I will present the court with evidence. Evidence that explains why you had to be at the Slug and Salad that day. Namely, the envelope has been ripped open rather carelessly, hasn't it? Miss Green strikes me as the type to open correspondence more neatly than that. Ah.
Is it?
The way the envelope is torn, I'm almost sure I've seen that exact same shape somewhere else.
Oh, you don't mean... You're thinking of this piece of evidence, Mr. Naruhodo?
Exactly, that's it. Try to match them up.
Do-do-do. They
like
go
the-
perfectly together.
It's like the Triforce, but with letters.
This torn up end is the envelope clearly belongs with this card.
Take that!
I believe this card reveals the answer. Good lord! Miss Green's card, you mean? That's right, my lord. It reads, I have information regarding the death of Duncan Ross. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on 17th. Don't tell anybody else about this letter or the meeting. It is a matter of utmost importance. Mr. Shamspeare, your actions on the afternoon of Miss Green's stabbing are exactly as described in this note. Personally, I find it hard to believe that's a coincidence. Don't you, Mr. Shamspeare? Well...
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yes, Miss Green.
That card was delivered to me. Doesn't it have anything to do with this old man, does it?
Well, you think so, yes, but it's hard to believe it's merely...
My lord, may I?
May you what, Miss Green?
I'd like to make something very clear about that card.
Very well, then. You may amend your testimony to include details about the peculiar note.
The note was delivered to me at my address. It had nothing to do with the odd man next to me here.
Objection.
Bullshit. Did I ever tell you the story about how we came up with Tourette's guy Ace Attorney back in, like, 2009-ish?
No.
Where instead of objection, he just yelled, bullshit! The day before the incident, exactly 1 week ago now, this note was delivered to your address. And upon carrying out the instructions in the note, you found yourself in hospital.
Yes, I did. It's terrible. Everything that happened to me.
Yes, it is terrible. If it's all true, that is.
What do you mean?
Miss Green, have a look at this, please. It's the torn off end of an envelope.
Is it?
And it so happens that it fits together perfectly with the envelope of the note you received.
Where do you get that? Find that?
In Mr. Shamspear's room. In my room? Mr. Shamspear, do you perhaps remember this note from somewhere? Well... Your actions that afternoon followed the instructions in the note to the letter. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th, and so that's exactly where you went. Let me ask you again, Mr. Shamspear. You already knew about this note, didn't you? And you, Miss Green.
Did I?
As this torn-off end of the envelope proves, the note was originally in Mr. Shamspear's room. So how is it that it came to be in your possession?
I don't have the first idea. I'm just a fudging honest. I go fuck myself.
There is only one explanation. You broke into Mr. Shamspear's room and stole it. You did what? Sorry. The house what? You broke... that were in my room? What on earth do you want with me? It would seem that both witnesses need to testify again. Oh... Miss Green.
Yes.
Whilst you have the court's sympathy, I'm sure, for the suffering you have endured in recent events, anyone found to be giving false testimony in a court of law will be duly punished. Please bear that in mind.
Yes.
Very well then, witnesses. You will give formal testimony again now. On the subject of this curious anomaly regarding the note Miss Green claims to have received. I do remember now. 'Twas a week ago, peradventure. That note was delivered unto me. On the day Whitray and I did tarry a long hour at the Slug and Salad, yet nobody came. Thereafter, on the evening I shared the company of the Japanese fellow, I did see the note had vanished.
I don't think I'd snuck into this man's room, do you? Could I? can point out the still in here. And as for that torn off piece of envelope, I don't know anything about it. I love how there's a freaking like sign, pointing sign at him.
That's me. You now claim to have received this letter, do you, Mr. Shamspear? Faith, 'tis so, my lord. And I would swear to have set it upon the table in my humble lodgings. Yet, 'tis clear to me now that since I returned it from the tavern that night, I have not laid eyes upon it. Well, that being the case, young lady, it would appear that your testimony was...
A lie. Is that what you think? How unfair you to think I'm the one here lying.
I beg your pardon?
I'm just a fledgling artist. As I said, a fledgling artist don't lie. The note was delivered to me at my address. Besides, we all know who's the liar around here is. Yeah, I keep pointing at him.
If that's true, Miss Green, how do you explain the facts? This part of the envelope was without question found in Mr. Shamspear's room.
I don't see why should I explain.
Sorry?
I'm a fledgling artist. My job here is to say what happens, that's all. It's your job to give the explanations and the proofs. You, the fledgling lawyer.
The fledgling will do his best. Evidently, my learned friend's cross-examination is our only hope of learning the truth. Well, counsel? I'm ready, my lord. Very well, then. The defense will now proceed with the cross-examination of the witnesses.
Miss Green clearly did break into Mr. Shamspear's room. There can be no question of that. That's how she acquired the note.
Yes, two facts that are starting to lead me to a possible explanation for all of this. And it's not a pretty one. I'm admiring your work. It's actually really good. Oh my god, is that a naked chick on a clam? Or is that the melting clocks? Or watches?
It's a
Objection.
Yesterday at the hospital, we saw you with this bottle. And though the contents split during the course of our meeting, a small quantity remained. According to the defense's independent analysis, Mr. Sholmes' chemistry test, or SET, the liquid that was still in the bottle was identified as strychnine. What? Strychnine? The very same poison that afflicted Mr. Shamspear. Miss Green, you broke into this man's lodgings. For one reason and one reason alone. To cover the end of the pipe that feeds the gas lamp into Mr. Shamspear's room with poison.
Hey, the way you look at me.
Can this be... You broke into my room to... It may seem incredible to the court. But from the remaining clues, there's only one logical conclusion that we can reach. The person who attempted to take Mr. Shamspear's life with poison was you, Miss Olive Green.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't hurt if I hurt anybody's ears.
Nah, I'm good. Order! Order! Counsel, are you seriously suggesting this woman put poison on the end of the gas pipe with intent to kill? Yes, my lord. There's no other way to explain the facts. But if Miss Green did indeed set this odious trap 6 days ago, and the victim had put his mouth to the pipe that very evening as expected, the attempted murder would have happened 6 days ago, surely. Well, that's a very good point. Perhaps not, my lord. I beg your pardon? There was a significant police presence in the area that evening on account of the incident on Briar Road. Local residents were being interviewed throughout the night as part of the ongoing inquiry. A circumspect criminal would likely have chosen not to carry out any wrongdoing at that time. Lord Van Zeeks.
And of course, the following morning, there was more activity at Mr. Shakespeare's address.
More activity? Ah, yes. You mean his fellow lodger, Mr. Natsume, being arrested on suspicion of murder?
That's right, and as the defense has already proposed, Mr. Shakespeare was meddling with the gas in the pipe for very sinister reason himself. Caused the gas stove in Mr. Natsume's room to go out, thereby asphyxiating the occupants.
But once Mr. Natsume had been arrested, his room was under constant surveillance by the police. In the circumstances, Mr. Shakespeare had no reason to blow air into the gas pipe. His intended victim being in a prison cell. With the need to tamper with the gas removed, the poison on the pipe lay dormant.
And then, 3 days ago now, the situation changed again.
Right! Mr. Natsume's trial, which took place here at the Old Bailey, came to an end. The trial in which the man stood accused of stabbing Miss Green in the back, but was duly acquitted. That resulted in Mr. Natsume returning to his lodgings for the first time in 2 days. And that very night, his gas stove mysteriously went out and Mr. Shakespeare was mysteriously poisoned. In conclusion, the poison that was present on the mouth of the gas pipe had been put there in the victim's room some 4 days earlier. Mary! With that new understanding, it becomes clear that this letter was all part of the plan. What plan? The court will recall that the note gave instructions to visit the Slug and Salad at 5 o'clock, and that the recipient should tell nobody else. The reason for those instructions are now clear. To ensure that the lodger would not be at home at the stated time. To make sure I wasn't home? Exactly. While you were out, Miss Green could safely slip into your room, knowing that she wouldn't be disturbed. You mean to say that letter was written by Miss Green, yes. And in order to cover her tracks, she took it away with her when she left. Just after she smeared poison over the mouth of the gas pipe in your room. Order! Order! What do you have to say for yourself, witness? Just who are you? Why did you try to kill me? Miss Green's motive should be obvious. It's all tied up with someone whose name we've heard several times already during the course of this trial. So, that's what's behind all this. You will share your apparent understanding with the court, please, counsel. Which person is behind this woman's motive for the attack on the victim's life?
Take that!
Duncan Ross. That's right. Before the defendant, Mr. Natsume, took up residence in the lodgings of Mr. Garadeb's, somebody else was renting the room, Mr. Duncan Ross. I knew I'd heard the name somewhere else. It was all over the papers a month ago, when the man died in strange circumstances at the haunted lodgings. That does ring a vague... Ah, of course, yes, I remember now. The young man they claimed was strangled by the convict's curse or some such. Sadly, my lord, it wasn't a curse of any kind, nor was it an accident. The man died as a result of Mr. Shamspear blowing into the gas pipe and causing gas to leak into the room. It was murder, plain and simple. Ah!
Well, what do you know? The world is so unfair. Curses, curious death, that's all people care about. If it's interesting story, they want you to know it doesn't cross their minds. The real people are involved. And once they're aboard, they just 1 month later, one story lost appeal. Everyone's forgotten him.
You mean you... Duncan was... Mr. Ross was Miss Green's fiancé. Fiancé? You may not have known until now who Miss Green really is, Mr. Shamspear. But she's known exactly who you are all along. Because you're her sworn enemy. The murderer who took the life of the man she was to marry. Marry? Miss Green, is it not the case that in order to exact revenge on Mr. Shamspear, you smeared poison over the end of the gas pipe?
That canvas has nothing on it.
Just an ordinary box. This is all quite extraordinary. Am I correct in my understanding that you now accuse both parties, counsel? Each on different counts of murder? Yes, my lord. That's correct.
Objection!
Inhaling so deeply, it appears that my fledgling learned friend has taken in a lungful of dubious gas that's causing his judgment to be clouded. What? Why would Mr. Shamspear have wanted to kill these lodgers, as you say? You have completely failed to provide a motive to substantiate your accusation against the man. Yes, that's right, Mr. Reaper, my liege. I have been slighted. 'Tis lies, all lies. I deny every utterance.
And you'll have to forgive me, Mr. Naherda, sir. But I don't intend to admit anything either.
Miss Green.
I'm sure you'll think I'm being very rude, but I'm not going to be sent to the gallows for the likes of this scoundrel.
Objection!
But you broke into the man's room. If you didn't do it to smear poison on the pipe, what was your reason?
I thought I had to look around. Oh,
Sorry?
you're right. I suspected him. So I thought perhaps I could find some evidence or something in his room. Evidence that it was him who took Duncan's life. Hi, Elliot.
Oh, vileness, oh, villainy, oh, tyranny, oh, rotundity of woman. But in any case, whenever I leave my room, I do turn the key in the lock.
Was the whole place is falling apart. The locks on the doors are no different. Duncan showed me once how to unlock the door with some ropes and a piece of wire.
Dang, she's lockpicking.
Oh, awfulness. Oh, awfulness. Oh, tyranny. Oh, profanity of woman.
He's just happy.
We will consider your trespassing on some future occasion. But for now, tell the court what you found, what evidence your search revealed.
Spotted the note that I sent him lying on his floor. I went to pick it up. I noticed something. One of the floorboards was loose, and underneath it, I discovered a secret hiding place.
Eh? Yes, we also discovered that hiding place.
Inside, we found a newspaper cutting, a photograph, and an empty tin box.
Ah, yes. Well, the thing is, when I found it, the box wasn't empty.
What? There was something in it?
Yes. This rather nice key.
Ah!
On a sec. Elliot, stop messing with the dogs.
What are you doing with that? What the?
Every ounce of color has drained from his face.
Give it here. Give it to me now. It's mine. I inherited it. What was that, witness? What did you say? You inherited it? No, What's all this about? He inherited that key?
It was obviously important to you, since you gone to such lengths to hide it, so I took it. I don't know what it's for, but you took something precious from me, so I took something precious from you. So, what if it means if you can't open something now? I don't care.
Give it back this minute. Give it to me.
My precious!
Exactly. He's turning into Golem. Calm yourself, witness. So Mr. Shamspear has tried, and in one case succeeded, to take the life of 2 lodgers now. Yes, his motive for doing so is the key to everything that's happened. It's true that there appears to be no motive to support the accusation against Mr. Shamspear at first, but considering everything we now know, I think there is actually something that can explain it.
What's wrong
What?
with you,
Ooh.
I need to recall every piece of evidence at our disposal. Everything we've seen and heard. Because I'm sure that I just caught a glimpse of the link that runs through all of these events. In that case, counsel, I must demand that you present evidence to the court in support of your claim. What is it that you say can explain the motivation for Mr. Shamspear's alleged crimes?
Take that!
That's
You are a baby.
an official police report, is it not? The Selden file? How did you get hold of that? Selden! The now sadly deceased Mr. Ross and the defendant, Mr. Natsume, have only one thing linking them. The fact that they had lodgings in the same room. Well, yes, we know this, certainly. A room that was formerly occupied by Selden. Until, that is, he was arrested by Scotland Yard for his involvement in multiple burglaries.
Hi, Chester.
I see. And it so happens that the convict Selden left behind one very substantial mystery when he died. The some 1,000 pounds worth of loot that he stole, which as yet remains to be found. Ah, yes, of course, it's coming back to me now. It's written in his file here. 1,000 pounds lost en route to hell. That was how the papers summed it up. And it seems that one particular fellow inmate was with the convict in his final moments. It's not hard to imagine Selden entrusting that inmate with his most closely guarded secret. The location of the stolen loot, and perhaps a key to unlock whatever container the valuables were in.
Oh, you mean this key is? And my cell phone's going off.
Mr. Shamspear, it was you, wasn't it? You were at the capital offender's side when he died, were you not? What are you talking about? This is a false charge, I tell you! A false charge! The name of the inmate who was with Selden at his death isn't noted in this file. But a simple telegram to the prison where he died would quickly tell us how false the charge really is. Ugh. But even if it's true, why would the man be so intent on killing every subsequent occupant of the convict's lodgings? There's only one explanation for that, my lord. It was in that very room that Selden hid his loot. So, it all comes out. Yes, and having established that, all of Mr. Shamspear's subsequent actions start to make perfect sense. When he was let out of prison following Selden's death, he made immediately for Mr. Gardeb's lodgings in the hope of renting Selden's old room. However, the retired army man was unable to offer him the accommodation of his choice, because Selden's old room had already been let to somebody else, Mr. Duncan Ross. Which is why Mr. Shamspear subsequently devised his gas-based plot to kill the occupant of the room. And when he was successful, he presumably intended to inquire about switching into the newly vacant room. However, a certain jittery someone had beaten him to it. Mr. Soseki Natsume? The defendant of this case, no less. So you decided to use the ploy with the gas again, didn't you, Mr. Shamspear? This time to oust Mr. Natsume. All for one simple and avaricious reason. To get your hands on the 1,000 pounds of loot left behind by the dead convict. You...
Get this lawyer a promotion.
Looks like I'm gonna snuff it before it gonna stretch me neck. Listen, I want you to have me loot. Anything to stop the coppers getting their mitts on it. It's hidden in the room where I was lodging when they got me. Yeah, this is the key to it. Take it. Always stay one step ahead, mate. See you in hell, I guess. Shamspear. It's mine. What did he just say? It's mine. That loot is mine.
Oh, he's going crazy.
Mr. Shamspear? It's all lies. I don't accept any of it. Why should I? After all, you don't have a shred of evidence. You can't prove I killed that fellow. Fultzoth, I am the victim here, remember? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? If I don't admit to it, there's nothing you can do. You can't arrest me, for the time being anyway. Verily, you can't arrest the victim, can you? Isn't that right, ladies and gentlemen? I'm so close. I just need a few more hours. I swore to myself that I'd get my hands on it, and I can almost taste it now. Do you really think I'd just give up? There's no question in my mind now. This man is guilty through and through. Oh, do we lose Sylph?
I think so.
Wait, let me check the Discord. Oh,
Still here. Sorry.
oh, it's alright.
I think he might have muted the mic when he plopped on my desk.
But he seems so utterly intoxicated by the idea of that loot. I'm afraid that however hard you press him, he'll never admit what he's done, Mr. Naruhodo.
There is a way.
Pardon?
There's one way I can finish him.
Oh.
He's already committed the most heinous crimes to get his hands on that loot, which means all we need to do is find it first. A fine plan. Were it not for the fact that the police thoroughly searched the room following the death of Mr. Ross. If it's there at all, it must be very well hidden indeed. Without conclusive evidence, I certainly cannot rule.
If only. Only there was some way we could find the convict's loot quickly.
This is the final piece in this complex puzzle, but I think we might have it in our possession already. Or rather, I think we may well have something that can help us find where that loot is hidden. My lord. Yes, counsel? The defense would like to make a proposal about how to find the late convict's hidden loot. I believe we are already in possession of something that can give us a clue as to its whereabouts. It's our last chance, so it has to be worth a gamble. Besides, we've used the same technique once already, and it definitely paid off then. Very well then, counsel. Let the court hear your idea. What do you propose we can use in order to locate the hiding place of the deceased's convicts' hall?
Take that!
If I'm not mistaken, those are Mr. Shamspeare's handprints on the wall of his lodgings. That's right, my lord. Exposed as a result of the defense's independent investigation of the scene.
Based on the wonderful new discovery in the field of forensic science by the great detective, Mr. Sholmes.
A great detective? Is that some kind of joke? Do you really think I'm gonna be daunted by a man with such a ridiculous title? I should think the great bard ought to recognize such a title when he hears one, Mr. Shamspeare.
Where you come from?
Perhaps we should compete for the honor of most ridiculous title. Ah! This Herlock Sholmes himself! What are you doing here, great detective? Your usual haunts are the filthy back streets of the capital, are they not? Ah, Mr. Reaper, it's been too long. And I see your complexion has worsened since last we met.
Oh,
Mr. Sholmes! He does know Lord Van Zeeks, then. Well enough to say something like that in any case. Mr. Sholmes! Though you may be heralded as a great detective by the population at large, that does not give you the right to come and go in my courtroom as you see fit.
If I may, my lord. Mr. Sholmes' newly developed scientific method has helped us to uncover no clues in this case already.
Clues, you say? I call them skin prints, my lord. My method identifies every location touched by an individual under scrutiny. It's the method by which we were able to ascertain this gentleman's gas pipe activities. Ugh. You need only a small sample of something the individual has previously touched to make it indicate a solution. In your case, sir, I used the teacup you had been holding. Elementary. So now, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, yes. What am I to use as a sample to make the indicator solution this time? Thank you for offering to help, Mr. Sholmes. When the convict was arrested, he was living in what is now Soseki-san's room. We need a sample to help locate Selden's loot that's hidden in his old room. What form will the sample take? We will need something of Selden's in order to create the indicator solution to find his loot. And something the convict owned happens to be in the possession of somebody listed in the court record. Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo, your powers of reasoning appear to be on the up. So, which particular person do you have in mind? From whom can we obtain a possession of the late convict Selden to create the indicator solution?
Take that!
Miss Green.
What do you want with me?
The key around your neck, if you please.
Sorry?
That key belonged to Selden. There will be remnants of secretions from the man's skin on its surface that we can use. Very true. That is the sample we need. Using it, we can create the indicator solution required for Mr. Sholmes' skin print seeker. And find out exactly what Selden touched in the room that he used to rent. Ah! Mr. Shamspear as one great to another, I assure you. If the late convict's hole is hidden somewhere in his former lodgings, I shall uncover it in no more than 30 minutes. Ugh.
If he doesn't, it's free. If it takes more than 30, I mean.
Yeah, I invented dominoes before it existed. So, Mr. Shamspear, the truth is well within our grasp now, and as such, you will never get your hands on Selden's stolen wealth.
And I'll be glad to let Mr. Sholmes have the key.
No, give the key to me. The detective shan't have it.
My precious! My precious!
It's over, Mr. Shamspear. No, no. You're out of options now. There's only one thing left for you to do. Admit your guilt. Whoa. Oh, shameful spear, despair. Be thy name.
What the? Where the hell did my character go?
Was watching the fireworks. I never intended to kill the man. I just wanted to drive him out of the room, that's all. So you'd have time to find the convict's haul of stolen goods? Yet after you'd killed the young man, you still didn't move into the room. I asked the landlord, of course. I pleaded with him, but he refused. Why? I was 3 months behind with the rent, for one thing. Mr. Garrett really has had a lot to put up with. And he had the gas repair work done immediately afterwards, putting the room out of action for a while. And then, this Japanese man swooped in at just the right moment to sign the new lease.
Poor Mr. Natsume. What unfortunate timing.
Then, 5 days ago, after the incident on Briar Road when the Japanese fellow got himself arrested, I thought I'd finally have my chance, but it wasn't to be. No, the scene was sealed off and guarded by the police night and day.
And if I remember rightly, Mr. Sholmes spent the whole day in there reading books.
I couldn't even enter the room, let alone search for the loot. Which is why on the day Mr. Natsume was acquitted and returned to his room, You once again tried your trick of blowing air into the gas pipe that feeds the stove in his room. Unbeknownst to you, however, that action would lead you into a deadly trap.
Does it go? To be or not to be? That's the question.
From Shakespeare's Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 1.
And, well, let me tell you, and that's your case. It's not to be. That is the answer. You deserve to die for what you've done.
Ha.
Please didn't. It was just a terrible accident. I'll never forget our conversation the night before Duncan died.
The gas supply in my new lodgings are a complete disaster, you know, Olive. The gas supply? Yes, the stove always seems to go out in the middle of the night for some reason. That's no joke. They say it's the convict's curse. Oh, Duncan, please, don't stay there. I don't care how cheap it is. Alright then, if that's important to you, I'll start looking for a new place. There are spare rooms at my house. Why don't you leave that horrible room tonight? No, I'd better not. We said we'd wait until we graduated before we told our parents, remember?
Oh.
Well, we have a very nice self-esteem house. If only I know what was going to happen, I have insisted he left that horrible room that instant. But instead, all I've been left with is bitter regret. Not going to school. But something kept drawing me back to the house on Friar Road. I saw a smooth Eastern-looking man with a mustache coming out of the house one day when I was there. He walked up to the shrubbery for some food, so I followed him and sat myself down next to him. He had some watery-looking soup and started to take a swirl with the puppet.
That place is cursed, I tell you, cursed! The ghost of that convict who used to live there is trying to suffocate me! I wake up in the middle of the night, freezing to death because the stove has gone out. The room is full of gas and I can hardly breathe. But the pipes have been checked. No problem there. It's like, I'm the problem! That's what they're thinking. But how could that be?
Now this is my part. I can't.
I don't know. They don't say who it is.
I can't focus because the cat is on me and I'm brushing him.
It's the Attack of the Cats.
Then I remembered a rumor I heard about the gas companies going around investigating the gas source.
A rumor? Ah, you mean...
Yes, everybody heard the stories, it seems, but how they go around checking the pipes.
How anything connected to the gas could be extinguished by blowing air into the pipework.
That's when it put it. A little flicker of doubt in the back of my mind that just couldn't go away.
Listen,
Was really sorry. I had the idea, it wouldn't leave me alone. It plagued me day and night. So I bought it at one of the black markets East End.
A black market?
I know. I just heard people talk about them, and you really can buy anything you can think there. In some ways, being able to get my hands on it so easily made me even more determined. I had to find out, one way or another, was Duncan's death an accident, or was it murder?
And your chosen method for establishing the truth was simple, but highly effective. Smear poison on the gas pipe you suspected the man of tampering with, and wait. If Mr. Shamspear was innocent, nothing would come of what you'd done. But if he was guilty, he would pay for his crimes dearly.
The nature of the man I suspected, William Shamster. And then I wrote him this little note. I have information regarding the death of Duncan Rourke. Come to the Slug and Salad on Briar Road at 5 p.m. on the 17th. Don't tell anybody about this letter of the meeting. It is a matter of importance. If you done it, I knew that would worry him enough, so he's sure to go. So I waited to see if it worked.
And of course, Mr. Shamspear followed the instructions to the letter.
Where the gas pipe was straight away. So I smeared a good amount of the poison I brought all around the pipe. All the crime that devil work wouldn't been done, and that it was all just some wild fantasy. Actually, no. Sorry, Chester made me. Chester's moving all over me. Alright. All that time prying, the devil's work would be done, and the culprit would get his just deserts.
"3 days ago, when you were first stood in the dock before me, this whole affair seemed relatively straightforward." "Yes, my lord." "I certainly never imagined the depths of depravity that we should subsequently find lurking behind the scenes. It has been a long road, my Nipponese friend." "Oh, yes." "And one I certainly didn't envisage walking with you." Nevertheless, together we have reached the light at the end of the tunnel, as it were. Miss Green,
Yes, Mama.
you will henceforth be stripped of your freedom as punishment for the attempted murder of Mr. William Shamspeare.
Yes.
And you, Mr. Shamspeare, you will be tried for the murder of Mr. Duncan Ross in cold blood, and the subsequent attempted murder of Mr. Soseki Natsume here present.
Be the man.
The Tragedy of Shamspeare, an upcoming Shakespeare play.
Miss Naharoto.
Ah, yes?
Yesterday, at the hospital, when you and your friends got me some.
From ending your life by drinking what was left in the poison bottle?
I wasn't myself. I can't even really remember what was going on through my mind. To be or not to be, suppose. That's the question. So hard to answer, it seems.
Well, personally, I'm glad of your being here, Miss Green.
Oh?
And I'd like to believe that it's a blessing Mr. Shamspeare didn't die when he ingested the poison. For your sake, at the very least.
Because of you, choose life, not death. And now, you have made the truth come out at last. Really, I can't thank you enough.
Miss Green.
Miss Oseki Natsume. Yes, my lord. The court declares that you are exonerated from all blame in this matter. Accordingly, I would call upon the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to present a verdict of not guilty. We are in full agreement, my lord. In that case, I hereby declare the defendant not guilty.
Ooh.
Now don't throw me up there with those fireworks. Ah. No, don't do me either. Oh God, help me now! As punishment, you'll be presenting fireworks every 4th of July. But this is not America. This is England. You're damn right it isn't. But you'll be doing 4th of July every single day for the rest of your life. No.
I just thought they'd take him to the gallows.
Oh, please, take me to the gallows. Like, no, we will keep you alive. No.
Not only will we be not only will they be keeping him alive, but forcing him to watch Lifetime.
Oh,
no.
Lifetime. Oh, God.
Oh wait, no, even worse than that, making him listen to Amy Schumer's and Potemps.
So, basically, all her Netflix specials.
Yep.
Oh, not only that, the Trainwreck movie that she starred in. There was another movie she starred in where she was, there was like some magic trick that was put on her to make her believe she was like a supermodel. Like, even though her body didn't change, but she was like that. I can't remember what the movie was called. I saw it in the theaters. I think she did another movie recently. I'll have to look at it later. But yeah, just the entire filmography of Amy Schumer and him just crying in the corner like, what's in my watching?
Forcing him to read Empress Teresa.
At the same time while watching the movie. No, even better, he has to do even better. He is forced to do a theatrical production of Empress Teresa in the prison. He has to direct it, and he has to have all of the prisoners be the actors.
Sounds like, what do you call it? War crime, like.
like day and night he has to listen to Bop over and over and over.
24-hour baby shark.
Yeah, baby shark. Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Oh, yes. Yes, at last. Divine justice duly done. Divine justice? My dear fellow, if there were any divine justice in this world, you would shave that mustache.
Oh my god.
No, this has nothing to do with my mustache.
Speak for yourself, baby-faced. Weirdo.
Gosh, some say that a luxuriant mustache is a sign of physical prowess, Mr. Sholmes.
Welcome, student, Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Once again, you've saved me from doom. I'm very happy to have been able to help, Mr. Natsume. Congratulations on your acquittal, your second in almost as many days. I was first acquainted with and gained affection for English literature whilst in our great homeland empire. And then, by a twist of fate, I was brought to the land that bore the fruit of that literature. Only, the city of bricks and mortar became my prison. Try as I might, I never found my feet here. In the end, I confined myself to my room and lived life through friendly old books.
You've had such a difficult time, haven't you?
Ah, but a week ago now. I dragged you out of that dark and dingy room of yours, did I not? You did, and I've seen more of life in this week than in all my years to date. And for the first time, I feel I've begun to see the true face of the English that's so far been hiding from me behind the wall of fog. My dear fellow, there is nothing special about the true face of the English as you put it. Wherever one goes in the world, humans are human. There are few genuine differences. Yes, I think you're right. I finally started to see that, and I've come to understand something. I've worked out why I was attracted to English literature in the first place. It made me see that whatever our nationality, we humans all have the same hopes and fears. We're all just doing our best to live. Well said. I've come to feel the same way. I've made a decision, too. I'm going to cut short my study tour here and return to Japan. What?
Just finally we'd become friends here in England. What a terrible shame.
Oh, I know, that does tug at my heartstrings, it really does. But I've decided I'd like to take everything I've learned here in Britain and write something of my own. Novel of sorts, I suppose.
Oh my, so you'll be creating your own literature, Mr. Natsume. How wonderful.
Oh, well, no, I mean, I wouldn't presume to call it literature. Why not? When that is precisely the definition, Mr. Mustache. I suppose you're right, yes. It will, in a way, be literature. But as of now, all I know is that I'd like to try my hand at writing. I have no delusions of grandeur.
I, for one, would love to read your work.
Well, all things considered, it may be for the best. After all, you have once again emerged victorious from a battle with the Reaper. Ah, that's very true.
And there is no salvation for a person in the dock when the Reaper is the prosecutor.
The desire to return post-haste to the perceived safety of your homeland is one I quite understand.
My goodness, yes, faced with such a terrifying prospect. Somebody would consider that cowardly, I'm quite sure.
But that's... That's not why I'm leaving. I mean it. Objection!
Well then.
Saseki-san did indeed return to Japan and submitted a report about both cases to the government. It was on reading that report that Professor Mikotoba was prompted to visit the scholar. And barely any time later, Sasato-san was given the news that she must return to Japan as well, on the back of a telegram stating falsely that her father had fallen gravely ill. The only possible explanation that comes to mind is what happened after the trial on the following day. The day that we uncovered the loot hidden by the now deceased convict in his former lodgings. You ready to find out what this treasure is in Olmec's temple?
Oh, well done, Mr. Sholmes. How simply marvelous of you. Gonna be mad if it's a picture, like an embarrassing picture of SpongeBob from that Christmas party.
That's worth £1,000 in this time period.
To uncover the secret hiding place in just one day.
Wasn't it supposed to take 30 minutes? As I believe I told you, my dear fellow, skin prints are extremely useful in such situations. Wouldn't you agree, Gregson? Gregsy's been happily munching an agreement this whole time, you know, Hurley.
Happily, I think perhaps humorously might be closer to the truth.
So, it transpires the man fashioned a hiding place in the ceiling. And what's in it? What exactly is the loot? Let us look then, if you're ready. Let's examine the late burglar's hall. What the? What is that?
Appears to be some sort of neckband or collar.
A collar? It's huge, though. And look at all the gemstones set in it. I could see why it was claimed to be worth £1,000. Perhaps I could have it as a belt.
Oh, have you noticed on the inside there are some dark stains? It's blood.
You don't think they could be blood, do you? I mean, there's quite a lot of it. On second thoughts, perhaps I won't have it as a belt.
Then, of course, there's this emblem here. Ow! There's letter B and a small crown.
What does it signify, do you think? Oh, I hadn't noticed that. I feel as though I've seen that emblem somewhere before, you know? Where could it have been? That's enough of that, I think. What's the matter with Mr. Sholmes? All the color is drained from his face. Well, Inspector, I believe you ought to be taking this, aren't you? It could be valuable evidence, after all. It must be kept safely under lock and key.
Get your grubby hands off that, you lot, and hand it over now!
Wait for a fry.
I'll trade you.
Trade you for the whole thing of fries.
I'd never seen a collar that large before, and all those jewels certainly looked to be extremely valuable. But that's not what stood out the most to me, at least not once I noticed it. Those dark marks on the inside of the collar, those stains. Could they really have been blood? Well, that was a funny case, wasn't it? But it's all buttoned up now. And you look very pleased, Iris. I am, because I was starting to wonder what I could use as the basis of this month's story in the magazine. But this case will be perfect. It's been so fascinating. You're talking about the latest installment of the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, I presume. The mystery of the knife in the mist and the mustached man in the convict's curse, perhaps. I could make it a two-part story.
Oh, I can't wait.
A word please, Iris?
Yes, what is it, Hurley?
I'm sorry, but you can't write about this case. It's out of the question.
What? Why not? It's a great case.
Then I shall have to insist that you limit yourself to the first of your two titles. The second must never be written. Is that clear?
Yes.
Limited creativity.
And so it was that the second of Souseki-san's cases became buried in obscurity. Now, looking back, I feel I understand. I can see why Mr. Sholmes forbade Iris from publishing the story. It would take a little longer before I saw the link between everything that had happened and would happen. For it wasn't until 2 months after the arrival of Susato-san's letter that events began to unfurl again, with an incident that took place at the very heart of the eagerly awaited Great Exhibition of London.
And don't worry, there is a reason why that story was never published and why we're just finding about the case now. But that's for another time. But I will say, the next 3 cases are probably the best in this entire franchise, so you're getting treated to like a kick-ass story.
Yeah.
Like, case 3 is considered one of the best cases they have ever written in this franchise. And that's even going all the way back to the original trilogy. Like, they're saying, like, it beats every single case in that one. Same with the 4th and the 5th case.
Cool.
I mean, their storytelling in this has been really good, so that's all I could say on that. All right, well, join us next time where we'll be actually doing a World's Fair. That's right, it's gonna be like a World's Fair type of deal. And you're about to see, I'll give you a little preview. There's a guy who believes that he can teleport, like Star Trek technology, where they transport from one area to another. There's a scientist that's willing to do that at the fair. So you'll get to see a cinematic scene of that happening.
Who?
In epic fashion for not medieval times, so like early 1900s. So until the time that we do that, thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you all next week.